hurt. Somebody could have been killed with that tree for sure.
Right now, trees snapped, power lines downed, and thousands left in the dark. A dangerous windstorm batters the GTA.
The dangerous and damaging winds continue overnight. I'll tell you what to expect for the morning commute.
Back up! Back up!
Ferguson ignites after a jury says no charges for the police officer who shot and killed an unarmed teenager. We will take you live to Missouri and hear from Michael Brown's family. You're looking live at this scene near Dundas and Roncesvalles. As you can see, a massive tree, no match for tonight's dangerous winds. Hi everyone, I'm Mike Wise. Scenes like that are playing out right across the GTA right now. Toronto is still under a wind warning, thousands left in the dark, and the damage from the windstorm is piling up. The winds tonight are downright dangerous. They downed trees and power lines and even sent debris flying, forcing police to shut down intersections across the city. In the last hour, Toronto Hydro reporting about 8,000 customers still without power. Across the province, Hydro One crews are responding to more than 400 outages, affecting about 87,000 customers. More on tonight's damage in a moment, but first let's go straight to meteorologist Colette Kennedy. So Colette, what do we need to know right now?
Well, we do need to know exactly what you're saying, Mike, that these are very damaging, strong winds. There is a reason that there is a wind warning, and that wind warning will likely stay with us into the morning hours, although the winds will get a little bit better. Let me just show you some of the peak wind gusts from around southern Ontario with numerous reports of winds over 100 kilometers an hour. Chatham-Kent was 1 up to 102, Waterloo, Kitchener-Waterloo at 102, St. Catharines 102, and in Toronto, we're talking about 2 different reporting stations with wind gusts up to 98 kilometers an hour. Same thing for you guys into Hamilton, Port Colborne, almost 100. And I could go on traveling eastward towards Trenton, where they're seeing almost 100 kilometers an hour as we keep moving eastward. So here now are your current wind gusts, still incredibly strong, 85 kilometers an hour in Toronto. These winds will get a little bit better, as I say, overnight tonight. But I'm going to walk you through hour by hour, and we could talk about the morning commute too when I come back, Mike.
Oh, okay, we'll check in with you later. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Oh, we want to give you a sense of some of the damage out there tonight caused by this windstorm. Our Neil Hurlin braving the elements for us tonight. He joined us live near one of the many trees brought down tonight. Neil.
Mike, this is the scene on Lind Avenue tonight as you see a massive tree completely crushing the roof of this Volkswagen Golf. 3 more cars were also hit on the street. As neighbors tell me, it's lucky nobody was hurt.
Say goodbye to the family car.
Well, it's been a great car, and we've lived with it for 13 years, but I guess its end has come.
This Toronto household is assessing the damage and trying to figure out how to get around without a vehicle now.
We might have to take the TTC, so I was kind of like sad because the TTC, sometimes you have to wait for a long time.
Tonight's wind damaging traffic lights and knocking some right off their posts. And with power lines down across the GTA, tens of thousands are still in the dark.
Our hope is that we'll be able to get a good chunk of the customers up tonight, and then some of the smaller, more localized outages will be addressed throughout the night and likely into the day tomorrow.
Check out this massive maple tree. It came crashing down just north of High Park on Pacific Avenue. Debris scattered all over the street.
I think that it's lucky that nobody got hurt. Somebody could have been killed with that tree for sure. But this windstorm is amazing.
I saw the tree in the summer. It's full of rotten right to the core with termite holes. And so it was just a matter of time before it went down.
In the Toronto Harbour, it's time to batten down the hatches to prepare for a windy and wavy night.
You're in protected waters like here. You're just going to rock back and forth. And here we're tied up in 6 different directions, so you're not pounding against the dock or anything. You just sort of bounce around in the middle.
And I wasn't even a park there.
And for car and homeowners with damage, lingering questions about who's going to pay.
I just want to know if it's my responsibility through my insurance to get this paid for, or if it's the city's responsibility. Because I just don't understand how we could have such big trees growing in our neighborhood and putting so many people in danger.
And this is the scene live on Lind Avenue. You can see a streetlight is still dangling, just hanging by a few threads. I spoke with the city of Toronto tonight, and they tell me that the city is not liable for damage caused by storms. Of course, you should always check with your insurance company. Reporting live tonight in Roncy, I'm Neil Hurley.
Okay, thank you, Neil. Several planes were either damaged or exposed to the elements due to strong winds at the Burlington Air Park tonight. The roof of a large hangar at the rural airport was torn off, with some pieces landing in nearby trees. All access has been restricted until the damage is cleaned up. No one was injured. We asked you to show us your storm pictures. Here's what you sent us, like this one from Michelle in Brampton, showing the winds blowing down fences there. This one is from our CBC colleagues in Kitchener. A bus shelter smashed due to high winds. And check out this picture from Hamilton, where a shopping cart shelter has flown on top of a car. As always, if you have any good pictures, tweet them to us at CBC Toronto or email us tonews@cbc.ca. We are also following breaking news out of Missouri, where there is violence on the streets of Ferguson. This after a grand jury announced a police officer will not be charged in the death of Michael Brown, the unarmed black teenager shot to death earlier this year. This is a live shot at the scene that is unfolding right now in Ferguson. There is a very heavy police presence by officers who are very heavily armed. Now, it took only minutes after the decision was read out before the clashes began to break out. Police firing tear gas into the crowd of protesters, trying to get them to disperse. Reports of rocks and bottles being thrown at officers on the ground. Brown was shot and killed by Officer Darren Wilson back in August. Wilson reportedly says he feared for his life when Brown came at him after confronting him about a robbery call. Here is more from St. Louis County prosecutors on why this decision was made.
I'm ever mindful that this decision will not be accepted by some and may cause disappointment for others. But all decisions in the criminal justice system must be determined by the physical and scientific evidence and the credible testimony corroborated by that evidence.
Bob McCullough adding there that the grand jury worked, quote, tirelessly to examine and re-examine witness testimony and evidence, but per grand jury rules would not release the vote of the decision. President Barack Obama addressed the nation minutes ago.
We need to accept that this decision was the grand jury's to make. There are Americans who agree with it, and there are Americans who are deeply disappointed, even angry. It's an understandable reaction. But I join Michael's parents in asking anyone who protests this decision to do so peacefully.
Obama also urging police in Ferguson and right across the country to show restraint, but reminded everyone that the U.S. is built, quote, on the rule of law. Also important to note, the Justice Department is conducting its own investigation into possible civil rights violations, but no word on any federal charges. Michael Brown's family releasing a statement after the decision, saying in part, "We are profoundly disappointed that the killer of our child will not face the consequence of his actions. While we understand that many others share our pain, we ask that you channel your frustration in ways that will make a positive change. We need to work together to fix the system that allowed this to happen." Again, we're going back live, looking at the scene unfolding in Ferguson, Missouri. Stay with CBC for the very latest on this breaking story. We will bring you any updates as they develop. Now back here in Toronto, tributes pouring in tonight for former Maple Leafs player and coach Pat Quinn. He died last night. Maribel Trouk takes a look at how players and fans are remembering the 5 decades he spent with the NHL.
Toronto Maple Leafs are the franchise in this country.
And very few contributed as much to the Leafs as Pat Quinn.
He meant a lot to the team and to the city, and he did some good stuff while he was here. And hopefully the Leafs can honor his memory.
Those were some of the best years. I mean, we had some great rivalries, you know, the Battle of Ontario.
And some fans remember Quinn as the Leafs defenseman who took down one of the game's greats in the 1969 playoffs.
I remember when he leveled Bobby Orr in that game way back when, and the Bruins weren't very happy with him. He also loved a good cigar back in the old days. He was a great coach.
Although Quinn last coached the Leafs in 2006, the players and coaches of today are remembering his impact.
He was always involved, and you know, I think that's just who he was, and you know, I think that's why everybody loved him.
Cody Franson won the Pat Quinn Defenseman of the Year award when he played with the Vancouver Giants, a team Quinn co-owned.
You know, he came down and gave me the trophy in person. We got a picture on the ice and stuff, and you know, that's something I'll never forget. I got a picture of it at home.
And past Leafs players say beneath the toughness was a caring man. Former Leafs goalie Glenn Healy recalls the team's last game at Maple Leaf Gardens when Coach Quinn offered to put him in.
With about 3 minutes left, he made his way down the bench and he asked me, you know, if it really matters to you to play the last game, I'll take Cujo out and put you in.
The rest of the Leafs organization recalls Quinn's presence not just as a coach, but also as a person.
Tremendous guy, a great big heart, larger than life. He'll be sorely missed.
He was always a mainstay, and he was the face of the franchise and the big man behind the bench. And, we lost a great hockey guy.
Pat Quinn was the chairman of the Hockey Hall of Fame, but he was not inducted into the hall. You can bet after today, the campaign to make that happen will gain momentum. Marivel Tarouk, CBC News, Toronto.
To put Pat Quinn's 7 seasons with the Leafs in perspective, Toronto won 41 playoff games with Quinn behind the bench and reached the conference final twice. In the 8 seasons since he was fired, the Leafs have made the playoffs just once and have won just 3 playoff games. We have more on our website, cbc.ca/Toronto, including a video with Quinn's career highlights. A jury today hearing directly from the man who opened fire at the Eaton Centre, killing 2 people and injuring 5 others. Christopher Husbands testified in his own defense. As Michelle Chung tells us, he described how he was once friends with one of the men he shot.
So what's your last name, please? Husbands. What is it? Husbands.
Long before Christopher Husbands surrendered to police for the Eaton Centre shootings, he was familiar with the justice system. Husbands was under house arrest for another matter at the time, and some of his friends, Nixon Nirmalendran for one, had spent time in jail. The now 25-year-old told the jury today he met Nirmalendran when they were in grade 7 and were friends as teenagers, hanging out in their Regent Park neighborhood, playing basketball and smoking marijuana. Husbands said they graduated to selling small amounts of crack cocaine. He testified he heard rumors Nirmalendran had it out for him. He said Nirmalendran told him in January 2012 they were lies. The next month, Husbands was stabbed 35 times in an apartment in this building. He testified Nirmalendran, his younger brother Nissan, and Ahmed Nouri were among 6 men who attacked him. If you survive and you tell anyone, you put us in any type of jeopardy. I know where your child mother lives, Husbands recounted Nirmalendran, saying. Husbands said he never told police who stabbed him because he feared for his safety. I value my life, but I value the life of my family more. Husbands admits he killed Nixon Nirmalendran and Ahmed Hassan in the Eaton Centre food court about 3 months later. Hassan's father and relatives were in court today. They declined to be interviewed, but said Husband's testimony doesn't justify shooting Hassan. Husband's lawyer has said the real issue in this case is what was in his client's mind when he pulled out a gun and started firing in the Eaton Centre. 2 forensic psychiatrists for the Crown and defense are expected to testify to that in the coming days. Michelle Chung, CBC News, Toronto.
When we come back, the race against time in Buffalo.
Everybody's going at the fastest they can possibly go.
The scramble to clear the snow before double-digit temperatures. Chelsea Agro's report from on the ground in Buffalo is next. And get ready for Pan Am gridlock. Next year's games will mean major lane closures and restrictions on your commute. Details of the province's traffic plans next.